Hello, I'm Dr. Garrett Boyer. Welcome to Gospel Minded, an outreach of Beatitudes Psychological Services. Interested in mental health help from a Catholic Christian perspective? If so, check out benedictuspsych.com. Here on Gospel Minded, we spend a few minutes talking about psychology, emotions, mental health, and we reflect on how these important topics are related to the Sunday Gospel reading each week. Now, it's no substitute for actually getting yourself to church or participating in therapy or counseling, spiritual direction if you're engaged in those practices. But like we know, and like we have seen, things of the mind and our psychology so often go beautifully hand in hand with our spirituality. If you are new here, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back. Either way, I hope you'll click subscribe and you'll never miss an episode of Gospel Minded. You know who's coming back to this channel now, today? Me. I haven't been able to do this with the consistency that I had been doing it for over a year and a half. But I've been away for a few months now. Occupationally, I had some stuff going on that took me away from here. And so I've missed quite a few weeks, but I'm back and I look forward to continuing where we left off. And I'm so glad that on this, my first week back at Gospel Minded, that the gospel reading comes from Matthew. It's the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount. So Matthew chapter 5. I'm going to read some of it to you, and then we can talk about the implications that this message of our Lord has when we talk about psychology, mental health. So the gospel is this, from the beginning of Matthew chapter 5. And again, this is the start of the Sermon on the Mount. It says, "When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain. And after he had sat down, his disciples came to him. He began to teach them, saying, 'Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter every kind of evil against you falsely because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven.'" Wow, that's some pretty powerful stuff, and it really sets the stage for the rest of the Sermon on the Mount, and then really the rest of what the public ministry life of Jesus was all about. So first things first, just from a scriptural perspective, something kind of noteworthy is the fact that Jesus ascends the mountain to sit and teach and instruct. So this is it now. This is the new law, the teaching of Jesus Christ. And what a difference it makes. And certainly it's distinguished from what conventional wisdom, conventional spirituality, I guess, for lack of a better word, would have been at that time. It's really Jesus kind of inverting our way of thinking and turning what seems normal and natural to us, in a sense, sort of upside down. So let's reflect on this psychologically for a minute. Just psychologically thinking, there are some real insights that we can glean from these Beatitudes. There's a sort of deep understanding of the human emotional needs that are here, the mental resilience that we can gain. Healthy relationships can be established by being a person of the Beatitudes. So when viewed through a psychological lens, the Beatitudes promote emotional balance, self-awareness, inner well-being. So let's start with that first one. Blessed are the poor in spirit. I think it kind of reflects one recognizing a person's own limitations and vulnerabilities. Psychologically, it supports this idea of self acceptance, reducing anxiety caused by perfectionism or ego driven pressure, poor in spirit. And how different is this from what our sort of natural inclination is? I want to be poor in spirit. I want to be hardy and robust and strong in spirit. But no, now the teaching on the Mount is the Lord saying, "Blessed are you who are poor in spirit." Wow. Okay, interesting. So if I'm poor in spirit, I'm going to be rich in other ways, rich in blessedness. Blessed are those who mourn. Boy, we talk about mourning a lot when we work as therapists or mental health providers. Mourning is a natural expression of human emotion, especially when something bad happens. A lot of times I think the temptation may be when I am sad, grieving, upset, depressed, whatever some of those hard emotions are, the temptation may be to kind of tuck that away or suppress it, not think about it, not allow ourselves to feel and to sit with those uncomfortable, challenging, and difficult emotions. But Jesus now on the mountain giving the new teaching here is saying, "Blessed are you who mourn." It's almost like it affirms the importance of mourning and grieving and working through loss. So rather than suppressing it, the emotional expression is now blessed. Blessed are you who mourn. And when we allow ourselves the space to mourn, when we are sad, feel the difficult emotions that accompany us at different points in our life, at some point or another, we're all going to lose somebody close to us. We're all going to have challenges and difficulties in life that cause us to mourn. If we really allow ourselves the space to work through that, to sit with those challenging, uncomfortable emotions, blessed are you. Blessed. Blessed are the meek. Meek. I think when I think of meekness, there's a sort of sense of um, having one's strength under control. I think of some of the strongest folks I know physically may be quite meek, because this idea of meekness in my mind reflects like a calmness, an ability to be patient, non-reactivity when people around you or situations around you may feel like they're getting all kinds of spun up. When stuff like that is going on, when other people around you start to get kind of keyed up, when things get hot, or when people start to lose patience and kind of lose control of themselves, boy, the person who is meek, um, they seem to be in better control of themselves. They tend to have better control of their impulses. They tend to help everybody around them feel that same sort of sense of calmness and ease that they exude. And so, blessed are those who are meek. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the merciful. In the Old Testament, it says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. That's fair. That's just. Yeah, now the Lord is ascending the mountain and teaching. Blessed are the merciful. When we talk about mercy in terms of psychology and mental health, what comes to mind so often is this idea of empathy, perhaps, forgiveness. We are all going to experience hurt at some point in our lives. Somebody's probably going to hurt us. Maybe we're the ones who cause hurt towards other people. Blessed are the merciful. If we are merciful towards others, think about how that might reduce some bitterness, hostility, anger, hatred. I think psychologically, forgiveness can lower some stress that we feel, help us to improve our relationships with others, perhaps. I mean, just like I mentioned earlier, some of those difficult emotions of sadness, grief, loss, depression, those are hard to sit with. But boy, the person who is bitter, angry, hostile, mad because of someone or something that has hurt them, those are equally hard emotions to sit with. And blessed are you who are merciful, not only because you are reflecting in a deep way this teaching of the Lord, but boy, I think if we are one who is merciful towards others who may have wronged us, um, boy, it might leave us in a better place psychologically speaking as well, because it is hard to hold on to some of those grudges that so often we hold on to. I'm not going through all the Beatitudes, I'm kind of skipping around here. But finally, blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers. I think, especially in these trying times, we're all striving for peace. But far from being simply the lack of conflict, I think what the Lord is pointing to here is this higher, deeper sense of peace, peace of soul. Um, but when we look at this through a psychological lens, this idea of peacemakers, one who promotes conflict resolution, cooperation, healthy communication with others, supporting emotional stability and belonging. That's not nothing. And I think the person who strives for harmony, concord, this sort of worldly sense of peace with their neighbor or people in their community, the more ready and more able we are to do that, the more the more equipped we will be to uh, realize that deeper sense of peace within our soul. And I think, aren't we all looking for that? So these are just a few reflections that were on my mind as we're getting back into gospel minded. And again, I'm happy that to start out again, today's gospel was this Sermon on the Mount. It's good stuff. And I hope that you found it useful, and I hope that I'll see you next time here on Gospel Minded. So, from me to you, let's keep one another in prayer and talk to you later. This is Dr. Garrett Boyer. Take care.